Hello everyone, this is Shannon Also Brooks and welcome to the Also Archives. It's been a while since my last video. Third year of medical school was very busy, but I'm happy to say that I'm now into my fourth year. I completed all of my third year clerkships. I just recently passed step 2, so we're done with that and that's under my belt, and now I can focus on primarily surgery rotations because that's what I want to apply for residency is general surgery. So my fourth year is pretty much full of surgery related rotations, some of which are going to be at military facilities as I'll be applying through the military match process for residency. And so this year is going to be packed busy of just preparing myself and getting letters of recommendation and all the things to gear up for the application process. And hopefully in December of this year, I'll match into a general surgery residency program. So this is going to be a big year, but I'm excited to finally be the next on the list to graduate from medical school in May of 2025 for my program. The purpose of this video today is to really focus on giving some networking tips and tricks for pre-health professional students as well as health professional students, whether you are interested in applying for medical school or nursing school, PA school, or if you are already a medical student or a pre-health student. I think that some of these tips and tricks that I've learned or have used along the way have really helped me to get into medical school and have helped me to be really successful in getting a lot of the opportunities that I have gotten over the years, whether it's research opportunities or just mentoring or just meeting people that have been able to help me along the way throughout my journey. And so these are just my quick tips that I've really employed over the years, and hopefully some of these will help you too in your journey to be successful and get opportunities that can help push you forward. So I hope you enjoy this video, and please check out some of my other videos, and thank you for tuning into my channel, and please subscribe too. Okay, so tip number 1, everybody can do it right now, and that is to update your email signature line. So for me personally, and this might be like a controversial topic for some people because some people is just their name and nothing more, but for me, my signature line is my name and the degrees I hold. Below that is my scholarship that I'm, Second Lieutenant United States Air Force, HPSP scholarship. Below that, I have the relevant leadership positions that I hold currently at my medical school. And then below that, I have my medical school name listed and then the logo of my medical school. So the logo, of course, is optional. It just makes it look a little bit more complete and finished. But I would recommend that everyone have a similar setup like that to your email. So name and your degrees, any scholarships that you have that are relevant, whether it's a primary care scholarship, a diversity scholarship, military scholarship, I will put that second. Then I will put your leadership positions that you hold currently that are relevant at your institution. And then below that, the last line should be your institution that you are currently attending. Below that too, put your email again, and then put your cell phone if you're comfortable with putting your cell phone number down so people have a way of contacting you as well. So that's how I would recommend formatting your signature line in all of your emails, because it's a subtle way of getting a little bit of information across, where if you email a physician or a faculty member at your school or a professor, they can sometimes scroll down and read that and get a little bit more information about you without you ever saying it at all. So you never know, they might also be a military scholarship recipient, or if you received a diversity scholarship, they might have also received one at their school. So it's something that might connect you with someone without you even being aware of it. And that right there might help you in the long run for a variety of reasons. My second tip would be to always keep your CV or your resume up to date as well. So as your involvement, your experiences, research opportunities change, keep that up to date, and it just keeps it easier as you go along, because you'll do so much along your career that it becomes hard to keep up with the dates and all that, and you will end up needing those when you start to apply for jobs and positions and things like that. So you want to make sure you have all that right in one place and keep track of it early, as opposed to trying to remember it later on. And also it makes it easier too if somebody asks you for your CV, you're like, oh, I got it, and you can email it, pull it up, download it to a PDF and email it right away without any hesitation. So that would be my second tip, is keep your CV up to date. And that segues really nicely into my third tip, which is always be ready and on time for any deadlines, if not early. So my motto is always to be the first person that submits anything to any application. So when I applied to medical school, if they asked for paperwork, if they asked for a photo, if it was, a background check or anything, I was the first student in my class to submit it. And the reason why I knew that I was because later on, as we got going into our first year of medical school, the admissions committee and the dean and everybody would always kind of joke about me being the first one, like, oh, I know Shannon's going to be the first one to submit this or submit that. And it became a joke, but it was something positive, and it was something that made me stand out among my peers. And so you never know that what you're doing is having any impact, but I was just being timely in my submissions. But in the background, people were taking notice of that at my medical school. And that's something that they recognize to this day. And so as you're applying and submitting, research experience applications, and if somebody asks you for your CV, always be ready so you can submit it, because you never know if you submitting early will put you ahead of somebody else that's also applying. So always be timely in your submissions of any and everything, as long as it's in your control. Of course, there's things that you can't control, whether it's a letter of recommendation and things you have to wait on. But if it's something you can control, make sure you get it in early as opposed to late. Tip number 4 is to always be vocal about your interests and what you want to do and the goals that you have for yourself. This was most apparent for me when I was in my third year of medical school. And they kind of tell you when you're a medical student, oh, when you're on pediatrics, you should tell everybody you want to be a pediatrician. And when you're on neurology, you should tell all the doctors you want to be a neurologist. And I never really followed that rule. I would kind of go in, and of course, my goal was to learn on every rotation and be engaged. But whenever they asked me what I wanted to do, I would always say surgery. I would never tell them I wanted to do something that it wasn't true, because they could probably see right through that as well. And so my viewpoint in going into that was always to be honest and upfront with my interests. And I think that paid off in the long run. So for example, I had one experience where I was on my internal medicine rotation, and I told, when they asked me what I wanted to do, I said I want to do general surgery. And my attending on internal medicine said, oh, I have a great surgeon that I want to introduce you to. He would love to have a student. And during my internal medicine rotation, in my off time on the weekends, I was able to spend, I think it ended up being a total of like 4 weeks working with this general surgeon, who basically taught me how to suture, taught me the ins and outs of the operating room, and basically had me first assisting with him. And this was months before my general surgery rotation actually started, all because I was vocal in my interests. And if I was afraid or intimidated in asking and telling people what I wanted to do, I would have never had that experience. And so in my view, it's always better to express what you want to do and let people know, and you never know what you might get out of that. So whenever I go up and introduce myself, I'm like, oh, I'm Shannon also Brooks. I'm a military medical student. I'm in the Air Force, and I want to do general surgery. And I think people appreciate that, appreciate the honesty, and you never know what connection somebody might have that can help you in the long run. So I think along the same lines, and kind of moving into tip number 5, would be to learn the difference between respect and intimidation. I think a lot of times in medicine and health careers in general, a lot of students are intimidated or fearful of attendings or fearful of interactions with doctors and things like that. And you kind of tiptoe around them and are afraid to approach them and afraid to say things and all that. And it's like, oh, like, what are they going to say? And they're not going to respond in this. And I think the quicker that you learn the difference between being intimidated and just learning to respect them and respect their position, I think the better off you will be. I always like to say that I'm never afraid of anybody. Nobody ever intimidates me or like puts fear into me in those situations, but I respect everybody that I meet in the hospital, whether it's a nurse, whether it's a scrub tech or, a social worker or the neurosurgeon or the plastic surgeon or whoever kind of surgeon it is in the hospital. I respect everybody that I meet, and I think keeping that viewpoint and that perspective in the hospitals allows me the space to be able to approach anybody and be able to ask them whatever questions I have or ask them for advice or anything confidently, of course, when it's the right time to do so. So I think that as soon as you, as a trainee or a prospective medical student or PA student or nursing student, can learn that these are just people too, and they were once in your shoes, and you lose that factor of intimidation and fear, it becomes so much easier to see them as just another person, and you just respect them for who they are, and you respect that the position that they're in, but you don't hold them on a pedestal, and they're nothing to be fearful of, because one day you're gonna be them, and they were once you. So just keep that in mind. And I think having that mindset has helped me a lot in my journey, and it's helped me to kind of get a lot further than what I would have been if I had that mindset of, fear and intimidation around these types of figures in the hospital. So I would suggest learning how to adopt that sort of mindset will get you a lot further in your career too. And I think I'm on tip number 6. And this will be to always say yes to opportunities that come your way. So, of course, don't say yes if it's something that you absolutely don't want to do, but if it's something you have interest in and you would go and do it and put your best foot forward and be eager to do it and participate, I would say, and you have the time, absolutely 100% do it, because you never know what you might get out of that experience. There's so many times where there were conferences and things where I'm like, oh, like this is interesting, let me go and see what this is about. And I would go, and then I would happenstance meet a doctor or a dean or the chair of a program that I want to apply to for a residency. And these things just kind of happen randomly. There's things you can't plan for, and I've made great connections out of these experiences. So I would highly recommend, if you have a opportunity that kind of comes up, or it's a chance to interact with physicians, or whether it's things in the community or things at your institution, go to these things and just try to mix and mingle with people and just get in the practice of communicating and learn to introduce yourself and say who you are and talk about yourself, because all this will help you in the long run to be more open and just learn to share about who you are. And it'll help you too in interviews when you get to that point. So say yes to those opportunities, even if you're like, oh, I'm not sure, a little hesitant. Just say yes and go and see what it's all about, because you never know what you might get out of those experiences. And then for number 7, this one I have yet to do myself, but I think I'm waiting until graduation when I get that MD behind my name to do it. But if you already have that MD or you're about to graduate, I would recommend getting business cards. Every conference that I've been to, every doctor is like, oh, do you have business cards? Or they hand me their business card. And I think it's such a nice gesture, and it's very professional to have a business card with your name and your contact information on it. Pre-med students, if you want to invest in getting those now, or you can wait until you graduate and get into medical school and graduate and you have that degree behind your name to get your business cards made. So that way you have something tangible that once you've made that connection, you can give somebody your business card. So those are my I think it was 7 tips to networking. I'm sure there's so many more, but those are the ones that really have stood out to me in my experience in trying to be successful at this and getting my way through medical school. And so hopefully some of these things will be helpful to you in your journey. And please leave a comment if you have any questions or have any other tips that maybe I can use too. I would love to learn some new networking tips that I can employ in my own practice. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for the next video on the Also Archive. So see you all later.